At the beginning of the story, we see a mischievous boy named Theo. He often tricked others into doing his homework. At home too. Instead of using the front door, he would climb the pipe and enter his room through the window. One day, while eating a banana, Theo went to the roof and suddenly threw the peel down. At that moment, a portal opened and the peel disappeared in the air. When Theo didn't hear the sound of the peel hitting the ground, he turned back in confusion and went downstairs to check, but the peel was nowhere to be found. Curious, Theo threw his roller skate down and the same thing happened. It vanished in the air. Shocked, he then dropped a stone and it too disappeared. Theo's surprise grew, so he went to tell his elder brother, Oscar, about the portal. Since their parents were no longer alive, the two brothers lived with their grandmother. At that time, however, Oscar was very angry with Theo because Theo had torn some pages from their late mother's books to make paper rockets. Theo tried to explain that he had discovered a time portal, but Oscar thought Theo was just making fun of him. The truth was that their mother had suddenly disappeared. Oscar believed their mother was a brilliant scientist who was searching for time portals and might now be trapped in another time. Oscar wanted to understand her research and bring her back. Meanwhile, their grandmother called them for food, and both stayed quiet in front of her. But as soon as she left, the argument started again. In anger, Theo threw Oscar's pet turtle into the portal. Oscar became restless, searching everywhere for his beloved turtle. When he couldn't find it, he put up missing posters all around. He was deeply attached to the turtle and cried whenever he thought of it. Soon, Theo realized his mistake and decided to fix everything by jumping into the portal. As soon as he entered, he reached the place where all the things he had thrown earlier were lying. Theo took the turtle back home and quietly placed it in its place, then went to sleep. But the next morning, something very strange happened. While Theo was still sleeping, Oscar got ready for work. But now, Oscar's age had increased a lot. With the help of the portal, Theo had traveled from 1990 to 2022. Now, in this time, Oscar worked as a physics professor. One day, he went to a shop owned by a man named David to buy some things. After a while, David's daughter, Elena, also came there. Since childhood, David had liked her but never confessed his feelings. Elena was now divorced and the mother of 2 children, but Oscar still carried feelings for her. She also worked at the same university as an English professor. Back at home, Theo woke up and started looking for Oscar. He picked up the turtle and went to his grandmother, but she was now very old and couldn't recognize him anymore. When Oscar saw Theo, he was shocked and fainted on the spot. After regaining consciousness, Oscar asked, "Is it really you, Theo?" Theo was confused and asked, "Who are you, and how do you know my name?" Oscar replied, "I'm your elder brother." Theo was stunned and asked, "How did you grow up so much in just one day?" After some conversation, they realized that Theo had somehow landed in 2022. They also talked about the time when Oscar was angry at Theo for tearing pages from their mom's notes. Theo showed Oscar a picture of their mother wearing a red dress, but Theo was worried. He wanted to go back to 1992 quickly, because if he got late, his grandmother would scold him. He went to the roof, hoping to jump back through the portal, but when he threw a stone, it didn't disappear. Oscar explained to Theo that time travel isn't so simple. The same portal that brought him here wouldn't necessarily take him back, so Oscar decided they would have to find a new portal to return from 2022 to 1990. While gathering information, Oscar took Theo to meet his senior professor. The professor explained that even though science and technology had advanced a lot by 2022, something like a time portal wasn't possible. Hearing this, the brothers returned home disappointed. Theo was amazed by the modern world. He saw Oscar's phone and asked what it was. Oscar explained that it was a phone, but unlike the old ones, you didn't have to rotate numbers. He reminded Theo to stay calm and said their focus should be on finding a new portal. At this point, Theo remembered something. He told Oscar that while tearing their mom's research papers to make rockets, he had also found a handwritten list. To annoy Oscar, he had hidden it inside a dictionary. Maybe that list had some useful clue. When they asked their grandmother about the dictionary, she said she had given it to David. The next morning, Oscar told Theo he was going to meet David and warned him to stay at home quietly. But Theo sneaked out instead and wandered into a big mall. Looking at the gadgets, he was completely amazed. While trying out a VR headset, he accidentally broke it. Oscar was called there and had to pay for all the damages. Then the two went to David's departmental store and he told them he had kept it at home. Just then, Elena arrived. At her home, her son and daughter were busy playing video games. Theo was amazed by these modern games and started playing with Elena's son, Zahn. Meanwhile, Oscar found the list inside the dictionary and told Theo it was time to go home. But Theo was having so much fun playing that Elena said, "Let him play a little more, I'll drop him home myself." While playing, Elena's kids started making fun of Theo because he had no idea how to play today's advanced games. They even asked Alexa for the time. Later, when Theo returned home, Oscar explained that the list mentioned different locations of time portals. The two of them went to those places and tried throwing objects to test if a portal would open, but nothing worked. Oscar thought maybe he had made some calculation mistakes, so he began working on them again. During this time, Theo asked him why he didn't have any friends and why had he still never confessed his feelings to Elena. Oscar replied that even though Elena was divorced, he didn't think anything could really happen between them. Without telling him, Theo secretly used Oscar's phone to send messages, inviting David, Elena, and her kids for dinner at their house. When they showed up at the door, Oscar was shocked. During that dinner, Oscar and Elena grew closer. The next day, Elena even took Theo shopping and bought him new clothes. While in the trial room, Theo started doing his usual silly commentary, and suddenly Elena remembered. This was exactly what Oscar's younger brother Theo used to do. She hugged Theo and asked, "How is it that after so many years you still haven't aged?" Theo explained that he had jumped into a time portal, which brought him straight from 1990 to 2022. To confirm, she asked Oscar. Oscar threw a stone from the roof, and this time, the stone bounced back upward, revealing that a time portal existed there. The group started doing daily research, and Elena's regular visits made Oscar very happy. Sometimes, he even danced joyfully when no one was watching. Together, Oscar and Elena worked on finding the correct portal. But deep down, Elena wasn't too happy about sending Theo back, because changing the past might also change their future. Maybe her children would never be born. She loved her kids deeply, and the thought of losing them worried her. But Oscar promised her that Theo going back wouldn't affect her life. He would make sure nothing in her timeline was disturbed. Now, they all started thinking about how to handle this so that both timelines stayed the same. Theo came up with an idea. To crack the coordinates written by their mother, he asked for the help of Elena's kids. His logic was simple. If he needed their help to go into the past, that meant they must exist in the future, otherwise they never could have helped him in the first place. Using the map, the three of them found a spot near the beach which Theo believed was a time portal. Excited, Theo jumped straight into the water, and though reluctant, Brenda and Nathan jumped in after him. As soon as they reached the shore, they were shocked. The city they came from was gone. Only mountains stood there. That meant the city hadn't even been built yet. They had reached the past, but instead of 1990, they had gone even further back to the year 1949. Now stuck in a strange time, the three tried to figure out what had happened. In truth, they had used the type of portal, the one that throws people into a random time. Meanwhile, back in 2022, a worried Elena called Oscar and told him Theo and her kids had disappeared. Oscar guessed that maybe they had found the 1990 portal. Now Oscar and Elena realized they too would have to go after them to bring them back. But in 1949, the three children had nothing. They had no money, their phones didn't work, and to make things worse, they were starving. The kids were not only hungry, but also worried. That's when Brenda and Nathan came up with an idea. They could use their gadgets to perform a mind-reading magic show. Nathan sat a little farther away while Brenda closed her eyes. Theo stood in front, holding a board with names written on it. Using wireless earphones, Nathan read the names and whispered them to Brenda, making it seem like she could magically say the names without looking. The audience was amazed. Everyone thought the girl truly had special powers. The crowd clapped loudly, and soon they earned some money. But their show caught the attention of the police. Public performances like this weren't allowed without permission. As soon as Theo spotted the police coming, he signaled his friends to run, and the three of them quickly escaped. However, a strange man kidnapped them and took them to an unknown place. Meanwhile, in 2022, Oscar and Elena finally found the entry point to the 1990 portal. Holding hands, they both jumped inside. For Elena, the experience of actually time traveling felt like a dream. In 1990, posters of missing Theo were still everywhere. Back in 1949, the kidnapped children were taken to a gang that was against the government. The gang leader asked why the man had brought them. The man explained that the children knew the gang's secret code. Confused, Theo asked, "What secret code word?" The man said it was the whistle sound Theo had used earlier while escaping from the police. That whistle, taught to him by his grandmother, turned out to be the gang's code. Then, a young woman entered. The children were shocked when Theo realized she was his grandmother in her youth. He finally understood where she had learned the whistle and why she had taught it to him. Theo didn't tell anyone about their connection, afraid they would call him crazy, but he ran into her arms for comfort. The gang, although against the government, was working for the good of the people. They had no intention of harming the children, so for now, the three were safe. Meanwhile, in 1990, Oscar and Elena searched for the kids inside Oscar's house, but no one was there. Suddenly, they heard a mysterious voice, so both of them hid inside a cupboard. Inside, they saw little Oscar crying over Theo's disappearance, which made the future Oscar very sad. Back in 1949, the three children had started adjusting to the gang's lifestyle because they believed they could not return through the portal they had come from. Theo's young grandmother was also with them, so for him, it wasn't too difficult to adapt. One day, Theo asked his grandmother to take a photo with them and told her to always keep it safe, even when she grew old, and frame it. Because of this, in 1990, the photo inside the grandmother's frame suddenly changed. Now, it included Theo, Brenda, and Nathan along with her. Theo had also written the coordinates of the time portal on the back of the photo in 1949 so that Oscar and Elena in 1990 could find it. Realizing this, Oscar and Elena decided they had to return to 2022 first so they could use the correct portal to reach 1949 and bring the three children back. Once they all returned from 1949, they would go to 2022 and then send Theo back to 1990. Oscar and Elena traveled back to 2022 and used the coordinates Theo had given to reach 1949. There, Theo had already told the gang members that his brother Oscar would come for him. So, two people were waiting for them. When Oscar and Elena gave the whistle signal that Theo's grandmother had taught them, the gang responded, and soon Oscar and Elena were taken to the gang's place. Elena was overjoyed to see her children safe, but Theo no longer wanted to return. He had started to like living in 1949. This broke Oscar's heart. He told Theo that even though they often fought, it never meant they didn't love each other. He didn't want his little brother to leave him. Oscar reminded him how much he had cried, missing him after he disappeared. Just then, their young grandmother arrived, and Oscar looked at her in shock. He was surprised but didn't say anything. Now they had to find the time portal to return to 2022. One man from the gang was going to drop them off in the car. That man was none other than Oscar and Theo's grandfather. Soon, they found the portal that led back to 2022. After that, Oscar started preparing to send Theo back to 1990 through the portal they had already discovered at the construction site. But Theo didn't want to return. In 1990, he had no one. His parents were gone, and he always felt lonely. He told Oscar, "I want to stay with you now. You remind me a little of my dad." Oscar hugged him warmly and explained that the 1990 version of himself was also very lonely and really needed Theo there. "If you stay strong, I promise my younger self will also take good care of you," he said. Even though Theo didn't want to, he went back to 1990. His return brought great joy to Oscar, and his grandmother also showered him with love. When she asked where he had been, Theo lied and said a gang had kidnapped him. Meanwhile, Oscar felt troubled and confused after Theo left. He even started to believe that maybe their mother had really abandoned them, and out of frustration, he threw away her books. But then Theo returned and told Oscar the entire story of his time travel. He even showed him a phone from 2022. Oscar didn't completely believe his story, but after seeing the phone, he couldn't deny it either. Both brothers then decided never to use the time portal again and promised to stay happy in the present. Now, in 2022, the two brothers are together, and when the doorbell rang, Theo teased Oscar, saying, "It must be your girlfriend." Theo said to Oscar, "It must be Elena. Now you should finally tell her what's in your heart. She's divorced now." Theo had not told Oscar earlier on purpose, because if he had, then Elena's children might never have been born, and her life would have completely changed, which Theo had promised never to do. But now the time was right. The children were already born, and the divorce had happened. As soon as Oscar opened the door, Elena was standing outside. From this moment, their lives could take a whole new turn. In the final scene, we see a time far in the past. A portal opens, and a woman steps out. This is an ancient time when people knew nothing about science. The woman is none other than Theo and Oscar's mother. It is revealed that she is a scientist, and she begins teaching people about science, something that could bring huge changes to the future. This is where the story ends. So what do you think? Should Theo have convinced his brother earlier to talk to Elena? Maybe then she would never have divorced, and they could have lived happily together. Share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.